Now, we meet a lot of business owners that don't have clear boundaries in their business. And what that means is that they allow themselves to get walked over or not really have a clear line in the sand of understanding what's acceptable and what's not. See, once we identify our values, they help us to understand how we want to interact with the world around us and how we want the world around us to interact with us. An example of that is, how do you want to interact with your clients, right? With your customers? How do you want to interact with your peers? How do you want to interact with your staff? I remember for me, Miranda, when I had my trades business, I didn't have values in place. And so when it was coming to a point of telling off a staff member for doing the wrong thing, it became very personal. And for them, it felt like an attack. And rightly so, because in many ways I was attacking them. Whereas once I started to understand the methodology that I teach in the book around pulling the vision, mission, values together, it meant that the conversations around performance were no longer personal, because it was strung off a common sense set of principles, right? Or boundaries, or what we're teaching here, values, which meant that the conversation could be had, but the result of the understanding of that employee and the change in performance was significantly greater than them walking away feeling like I was a prick and that they'd been attacked, right? So our values really help us to teach people how to treat us. If we answer the phone at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning to our employees or to our clients, we're unconsciously telling them that it's okay for them to call us at 6 o'clock. If we allow one of our employees to leave their rubbish and food scraps in the van, right, in the Bobcat, we're letting them know that that's okay to treat our belongings that way. If we let our employees show up late without saying something, we're unconsciously telling the whole entire organization that it's okay for them to be late, right? So know this: if you're answering calls on weekends, you're telling them it's okay to call you after hours. If you let your staff come in consistently late, you're telling them it's okay not to value your time. If you let your sales team sign clients that aren't the right fit for your business, you're telling them that you care more about money than about quality. And if you let your clients dictate the terms of your projects, you're telling them that you don't value your worth highly enough. This also signals that you're underconfident and perhaps underqualified in doing the work. Let that sink in for a second. Ultimately, if you're willing to compromise on your standards, what we're actually saying to everyone else around us is it's okay for them to do that too.
Sweeping and moving on from that, when we think about boundaries will give us the power to say no. So once we know where those lines are, we have made decisions around the behaviors that we expect in our business from our clients, from those sorts of things. We then know where the line is of no versus yes. So, one of those things as well, we are taught from a really young age that, no is a rude word. It's like, no, don't say no, that's a rude word. Yet asserting boundaries is so essential for healthy adult functioning. It's when we constantly say yes to everything, we're exhausted. We potentially allow people to walk all over us where we're not exerting our boundaries. When we say yes to everything, we confuse people. We confuse our staff. We confuse our clients.
I was just going to say a point there too, Miranda. Like, I remember so many times in my life where I said yes to things that I just didn't really want to say yes to. And I said yes because I didn't want to upset someone or disappoint them. But ultimately what happened over time is that led me to resentment, right? I resented others, where in actuality, I was resenting myself for not valuing myself enough to understand what was a yes and what was a no. And this was pre-values, not just in business, but I also have personal values that help me to make decisions as well.